Hey everyone, welcome to this tutorial series about the Stellar blockchain. In this tutorial series, I'll be walking you through the basics and the fundamentals of what the Stellar blockchain is all about, what makes the Stellar blockchain unique, and why you want to build on the Stellar blockchain. This series is going to be split into various sections. We start with what is Stellar, talking about the Stellar network. Then we move, going to the stack, and we progress along that line until we get to the programming aspect and smart contracts development aspect also. So it's going to cover pretty much everything about Stellar from to give you a soft landing like into the Stellar ecosystem, every single information you need to know, going into even beginning to build apps on the Stellar blockchain. So yeah, let's jump right into this. And so what is Stellar blockchain? So the first thing that comes to mind is we are talking about a blockchain here. So, and because we are making reference to a blockchain, let's talk about what a blockchain is first of all. But before then, Stellar is a layer one blockchain. I think that is important to know going forward. Stellar is a layer one open source public blockchain. And Stellar is powered by the rules that govern the Stellar blockchain is known as the Stellar Consensus Protocol. And that rule makes use of the proof of agreement consensus mechanism. So let's try to dissect all of these things. So the first thing I want to talk about is what is a blockchain, right? So we said Stellar is a layer one open source public blockchain. So the first thing is it is a blockchain, right? So Stellar is a blockchain. That's the first thing to know. It's a blockchain. And what is a blockchain in this case? A blockchain is a distributed ledger. My definition of a blockchain simply is a distributed ledger that records and verifies data or transactions added to the ledger in a decentralized and secure manner. Now, the blockchain is basically a ledger. It is a ledger, but in this case, it is decentralized and it is distributed across various nodes. Nodes in this case are regarded as computers. Computers that run a piece of software, a piece of computer program that governs the affairs of that network with respect to other networks. And in that case, we begin to talk about other things like the P2P platforms. I'm going to talk about things like the P2P network. So all the nodes on the system make up the P2P network. So the collection of all of those systems, first thing we talk about that is very important is that it's a ledger, decentralized, distributed ledger, governed by a set of rules, right? So, and though that rule, the rule that governs them are enforced across every single node. Across every single node. The Stellar protocol. Now, the Stellar protocol itself is just a computer program, right, that enforces the rules and ensures that for every node that runs the software, for every computer, in this case, single node, call it computer, for every computer that run that computer program, for every node that runs that computer program, you are sure that they follow the same set of rules. And that way, they cannot be dubious, they cannot be malicious, because every one of them follow the same set of rules. And now, because of that, you are sure that whatever happens at one point for one computer, the distributed system happens for every other person. And so the set of rules that govern them is what we refer to as the consensus protocols. So the set of rules are referred to as the consensus protocol. Now, in this case, being the consensus protocol, but in Stellar, it is regarded as the Stellar consensus protocol. And the Stellar consensus protocol makes use of the proof of agreement consensus mechanism. Now, there are different types of consensus mechanisms in blockchains. Popular blockchains like Bitcoin and Ethereum makes use of proof of work. The proof of work is a kind of consensus mechanism whereby it's the rules that govern the blockchain network, the Bitcoin network, right? And this proof of work is simply regarded as the consensus mechanism whereby nodes needs to prove that they have the capacity to solve an equation. Basically, that's what it means. So you have proving the fact that you can perform a certain amount of work, like you can do this work. That's basically what the proof of work is all about. You are simply telling the network that yes, I'm able to do this work. So a task is given to all of the blocks, all of the nodes of the blockchain, and whoever performs the task at the fastest gets to mine the block. So proof of work basically relies on computational power. Let me just add that down. So relies on computational power. And we have the proof of stake, which is used by another popular blockchain called the Ethereum blockchain that relies on staking power. This simply means that whoever has the highest stake in the network gets more privilege than those that do not have the highest stake on the network. So it's a way of resolving issues, it's a way of resolving, the way of agreeing on certain information and certain actions that are handled on the platform. So this happens for Bitcoin. So we have all of these different consensus mechanisms, but for Stellar, we have this consensus mechanism called the proof of agreement. Now, the proof of agreement in this case is this form of agreement whereby you agree, the nodes are the one making the agreement, right? So there are different nodes like we've established already, right, on the blockchain that are governed by a set of rules. Now, each of those nodes in Stellar have to agree. So the proof of agreement in this sense is just a way of nodes to agree that yeah, I validate the transaction of this other node. So there are a set of nodes that need to validate, that need to agree that whatever transaction is being propagated by a node, one computer of the entire decentralized and distributed ledger is valid. And whatever transaction it says is valid is valid. So we confirm that there's an agreement to what this node is talking about. So that's basically what the proof of agreement is. And it has a lot of benefit compared to the proof of work and the proof of stake. The proof of work relies on computational power, so it is very, very, very expensive in terms of energy consumption. But for the proof of agreement, it is very, very cheap in terms of energy consumption. So one of the benefits of the proof of agreement consensus mechanism is that it is very energy efficient, right? So the second thing we have for the proof of agreement is that it is very cheap. Now, because this relies on a lot of computational resources and energy consumption, you pay a lot of things. You pay for gas, you pay for electricity fees, very high amount, very high fees being charged for all of this. And for proof of stake also, you need to rely on the amount you stake. So then depending on the amount you stake, right? So you need to stake higher at some point, certain point in time, you need to pay more for most things to happen on the blockchain. And for that, you see that Stellar, since it's not making use of those things, it is a lot more cheaper. It's way, way cheaper than you could even expect. So Stellar is very, very cheap. So it's one of the benefits of, one of the features of Stellar, in fact, is a very cheap blockchain. For transactions, it is extremely cheap. So it's one of those things that is gotten from the consensus mechanism itself, because it does, if the way it resolves it makes it cheaper, then you can be sure that yeah, even the blockchain itself resolve actions and transactions in a cheaper manner. And then the third benefit of the proof of agreement consensus protocol is that it is fast. Now, the way Stellar resolves the rules that govern Stellar, the proof of agreement is very, very fast. It is way faster than most of the other consensus mechanisms, right? So that's the fast time to finality, time to like confirm block is very fast. It takes less than 5 seconds in most cases. So those are some of the benefits of the proof of agreement over the other consensus mechanisms like proof of work and proof of stake. So we have that. Then coming back to yeah, now let's talk about what can I do on the Stellar network, right? So because we've seen it now that okay, it's a layer one blockchain, it's an open source blockchain, it is open to anybody, it's governed by this rule called the consensus mechanism, and this it makes use of the proof of agreement consensus mechanism. Now, what can I do, right? What is important for me? What can I do on this thing? Right. So the first thing that happens is I can look at it and say, okay, now thanks to the proof of agreement, thanks to the faster time on Stellar, thanks to the energy consumption, what can I do on Stellar? Right. I know all of these features exist, but then what is possible for me as a user? So what I can do on Stellar is I can issue my own asset. Right. That's the first thing. It simply means I can tokenize any form of value, which means including my time. Right. My time is a value to me. It's an asset to me. I can tokenize that and I can list it on the Stellar blockchain. And it can get resolved automatically. And how do I know it gets resolved automatically? So when I trade my tokens, I tokenize this, right? So that means I can convert this to a token, and then I can decide to trade that token, which are this is my asset that I've tokenized, right? I can decide to trade it on the Stellar blockchain. And so what tokens on the Stellar blockchains are exchangeable. So it means whatever I tokenize at all, whatever it is that I decide to turn into from an asset into a token, right? I tokenize my asset. I can trade it on the blockchain. I can send, I can trade. So it's exchangeable. And all I need to do to exchange this is just to submit a bid to the network. And I can automatically make trades with that token, with my time itself that I've tokenized, as an example, without any need for an intermediary, and that get resolved automatically. And that transaction works like a simple buying and selling of um anything that you buy using the normal currency, normal physical currency, right? So that's the second thing that you can do on the Stellar blockchain that is very significant, and I feel and I believe that is very unique to the Stellar blockchain as well. And then the third thing you have is you can convert your currency as you send it. This is a very powerful feature, and it's one of the things I love most about the Stellar blockchain. And this is the fact that you can send your currency as a sender, right? And the recipient of the currency gets a totally different currency of choice. So I perform a transaction, say I'm sending US dollars, for instance, and I'm sending it to a particular address or to a user. And I want the user automatically to get, let's say, Naira, right? If it is listed as a token on the Stellar blockchain as well. So I'm sending this currency as USDT, and the other person that wants to get it, I want him to get Nigerian Naira, automatically gets that token without me needing to go through DEXs, decentralized exchanges, or needing to worry about AMMs, limited market makers. So I don't need to worry about these things, right? I don't need to worry about decentralized exchanges. And what are decentralized exchanges? They are those platforms whereby you go to trade your tokens or your currencies, you trade your tokens from one form to another. Now, those are places whereby you get to exchange tokens in different forms. But all these things are built into the Stellar blockchain. So you don't even need to go there to pay extra fee to convert your tokens from one form to another. You don't need to worry about the automated market movers of, okay, which of these platforms will give me the better choice? Which of these is going to be my actual value? Or is it dependent on gas fee or not? So all of those things are things you don't need to worry about on the Stellar blockchain, on the Stellar network. It happens just like that. And so you can do this conversion from one currency to, as you send your currency over the network, it gets converted automatically to the currency of choice, and everything happens seamlessly. So those are some of the things you can do on the Stellar network, and those are like the interesting things. But let's look at, before I conclude with this first chapter of this series, let's look at the benefit of the Stellar blockchain, right? So we've talked about certain things like, yeah, when we look at the consensus protocols, right, the other time, we talked about what is that we've seen some of the benefits, right, even from there. Now let's look at the benefits in detail. So one of the benefits and some of the benefits of the Stellar blockchain is that it is faster. Like I was saying the other time, that it takes 5 seconds, give or take 5 seconds, approximately 5 seconds, for transactions to get confirmed on the network. So it takes less than 5 seconds. You perform a transaction, everything gets resolved within 5 seconds, give or take 5 seconds. So it is very fast. And then energy efficient also. I've explained how it is efficient because of the consensus mechanism. So the amount of work done by the nodes to resolve every single transaction and the way they go about it makes it a whole lot efficient in terms of energy. And then the third thing that stands out as benefit of Stellar blockchain is that it is scalable, right? You are sure that you can process up to 1,000 transactions per ledger. And by ledger, so let me just add that here. Stellar and process up to 1,000 transactions per ledger. In this case, what I mean by ledger is what you understand by blocks in other blockchain. So let me just talk a bit about that. So when we talk about blocks now, a blockchain basically is a collection of blocks. So it simply means I have something like this. I have block here, and I have another block here. So I have this block, and I have this block, right? I have this block. So these are collection of blocks, assuming these are collection of blocks. So all of this collection of these blocks is what I refer to as a blockchain. right? But in Stellar, these are referred to as ledgers. So we refer to these as ledgers in Stellar. So it can process up to 1,000 transactions per ledger. We'll talk about all of these things in detail when we look at the consensus mechanism, look at Lumen, look at all of these things about, and probably when we even start talking deep about other concepts of the Stellar blockchain. But for now, these are some of the benefits, right? You can process up to 1,000 transactions per ledger. So this is a ledger, this and that ledger, and this is another ledger. So Stellar can process up to 1,000 transactions per ledger, and everything gets resolved in less than 5 minutes. Or 5 minutes, give or take. So all of these things just makes it easy for you to see that, okay, whatever you do on Stellar is very fast. You are sure that speed is not an issue, right? And it is scalable. It can handle no matter the transactions you perform at that time. So it is fast, it is energy efficient, it is scalable for people that want to run production grade applications on the blockchain, on Stellar blockchain. It can accommodate whatever size you want to. So, and then the last benefit is that it is very, very affordable. So for any transaction you perform on the blockchain, on the Stellar blockchain, it is extremely affordable. It costs less than 0.0005, right, to execute any transaction. So LMX. So that's basically how much you spend for every transaction. And this is very cheap. This is extremely cheap, in fact, for any form of transactions you perform. 0.00005. Yes. So it is extremely cheap. And LMX is the native currency of Stellar. So we'll look at this also in detail when we come to the other series about Lumen of this series. So these are like the necessary information to know coming into Stellar. Like you need to know all of these things, the benefits, what will I want to do, and why will I want to build on Stellar blockchain. So you have all of these things that you can do. You see the benefit, you see the consensus mechanism. Right from the beginning, you can already see that yes, it's a blockchain that can accommodate whatever form of traffic, whatever form of applications I want to build on it. So these are like the introduction. These are very interesting details you need to know coming into the Stellar blockchain. So yeah, I hope this gives a bit of context to it. So thank you for watching the first part of this series, and see you in the next series.